Hello there. Welcome to Lena's Lane. This will be our first episode in our new series, Case Files. Today, I'll be sharing with you the sad case of Prince Jones Jr. So make sure you stay tuned for more. On March 30th, 1975, in New Orleans, Louisiana, Prince Jones Jr. was born to Prince Jones Sr. and Dr. Maybelle Jones. Prince spent his formative years in the suburbs just outside of Dallas called Duncanville, Texas. He was described as having interests that were varied and eclectic. In his free time, he could be found listening to hip-hop artists Run DMC, Big Daddy Kane, Public Enemy, and Poor Righteous Teachers. Prince also enjoyed playing video games Dungeons and Dragons. He was also athletic and enjoyed skiing, playing basketball, track and field, roller skating, and skateboarding. Not only did Prince excel outside of the classroom, but inside as well. At just 16 years of age, Prince was accepted to the Texas Academy of Mathematics and Sciences at the University of North Texas. For those that are unaware, it's the nation's first early college entrance residential program for gifted high school students. Prince then went on to attend Howard University in Washington, D.C., which was a dream come true for him. He walked the campus amongst fellow scholars who looked like him and shared similar cultural experiences. Prince was in his element. He thrived at Howard and seemed more at home there than at his actual home. Prince majored in human development. He was a member of the Drew Hall step team and the triple jumper for the track and field team. Working as a personal trainer at a Washington metropolitan area gym, Prince was described as a health food fanatic who led such a disciplined lifestyle that his friends called him White Toast. He was known as a very religious person who wouldn't even curse. Prince was set to enlist in the U.S. Navy after graduation and hoped to contribute to society by becoming either a doctor or a diplomat, an outstanding citizen with no police record. On September 1st, 2000, in Fairfax County, Virginia, about 3 a.m., Prince was in his black Jeep Cherokee, headed to his fiancée Candace Carson's, who was also the mother of his then 10-month-old daughter, Nina. That same morning, he crossed paths with two undercover police officers who were driving separate unmarked vehicles. They followed Prince 16 miles from Chilham, Maryland to Fairfax County, Virginia. According to police reports, on September 1st, 2000, 32-year-old Carlton Jones, no relation to Prince Jones, served Prince George County, Maryland as an undercover narcotics police officer. For the sake of the video, I'm going to call the officer by his first name to eliminate confusion. It is stated that Officer Carlton testified that the black Jeep Cherokee that Prince was driving was similar to the vehicle that was tied to a stolen police weapon. Officer Carlton continued to follow Prince, following him to Spring Terrace, a residential street located in Sleepy Hollow section of Falls Church. Prince stopped his Jeep to get out and identify himself. Officer Carlton also identified himself as a police officer and flashed his service weapon at Prince. Per police reports, Prince then got back into his Jeep and rammed it into Officer Carlton's vehicle. In response, Officer Carlton fired 16 shots at Prince, who was still in his Jeep, hitting him 8 times, with 5 of those shots hitting him in his back. Prince was able to drive off a short distance before crashing a few feet from his fiancee's home. Prince would later die from his wounds in Nova Fairfax Hospital. Prince Jones Jr. was 25 years old at the time and unarmed. The red line indicates the route taken by Prince in the Jeep. The blue line indicates the route taken by Officer Carlton in his vehicle a minute or two later. This map shows the position of Prince's Jeep, labeled A, and Officer Carlton's vehicle, labeled B, during the confrontation on Spring Terrace. In this map, label C is the property on Spring Terrace from which Letty and Juan Balv witnessed part of the confrontation between Prince and Officer Carlton. Here you'll see trajectory rods inserted by investigators into the back of Prince's Jeep, showing the direction of the shots fired by Officer Carlton. This is a photo of Officer Carlton as he looked the night of the encounter with Prince. In October 2000, Fairfax County Attorney Robert F. Horn Jr. refused to file criminal charges against Officer Carlton. Officer Carlton testified in the civil trial that he followed Prince because he was conducting surveillance in connection with a probe into the theft of a service weapon from another officer's car. Officer Carlton also testified that the black Jeep Cherokee that Prince was driving was similar to the vehicle a suspect in the gun theft was known to drive. Though he wasn't sure who he was following, Officer Carlton said he was ordered to keep following the vehicle by then Sergeant Bailey. Bailey was named in the lawsuit, but the judge removed him as a defendant. The officer testified that Prince backed his Jeep into the driver's side door of the officer's vehicle, jumped out, and started to run toward him. Officer Carlton, who was wearing plain clothes that night, testified that he displayed a service weapon, identified himself as a police officer, and ordered Prince back into his vehicle. Officer Carlton then went on to testify that Prince backed into his vehicle a second time and was about to back into it a third time when he fired, also stating he was too frazzled to drive out of the way of the Jeep. Two civilian witnesses contradicted the officer's account. From her nearby home, Letty Balv testified that she saw the Jeep and the officer's car parked driver's side by driver's side for several minutes. She testified that she never saw anyone jump out of the Jeep. Her husband, Juan Balv, testified that the Jeep was not moving when the shots rang out. Mabel Jones, Prince's mother, said she was unhappy with the verdict because the jury found that her son contributed to his own death. She says she believes that Carlton Jones lied when he testified that he identified himself as an officer. "My son would never attack the police officer," she said. 6 years later, in January 2006, in a sworn deposition and other statements, Officer Carlton said his mind has gone blank about what transpired from the time he drew his 9mm semi-automatic pistol until shortly after he emptied his ammunition clip, that he doesn't remember firing 16 shots or other key details about his deadly confrontation with Prince. He also testified that he was so frozen with fear that he could not unbuckle his seatbelt or put his car in gear, actions that could have enabled him to avoid a vehicle collision that immediately preceded the shooting. Yet he was able to draw his weapon and repeatedly pull the trigger. According to the court papers, Officer Carlton lost track of his target in an unfamiliar Fairfax neighborhood. Minutes later, Prince apparently realized he was being tailed and confronted Officer Carlton, a plainclothes officer with dreadlocks, on a quiet residential street. Officer Carlton said Prince then twice backed into his unmarked vehicle, mistakenly assuming that he was being attacked by a suspected criminal. The officer said he opened fire in self-defense as Prince attempted to ram his vehicle a third time. According to a summary of his deposition, as well as other papers filed by his lawyers, Officer Carlton said he could not remember details of the incident and therefore could not respond to several questions about the shooting. Gregory Latimer, an attorney for Prince's mother, called the officer's memory lapse a fabrication, stating it's him trying to avoid explaining the unexplainable. Because he doesn't have an explanation, the best thing for him to do is say, "I don't remember." All he can remember is firing his weapon, and the next thing he knows, it's empty. Officer Carlton then testified in his deposition that he froze when he was suddenly confronted by Prince, who had pulled into a driveway and turned off his headlights in an attempt to elude his pursuer. When asked why he didn't simply drive off when he realized his cover was blown, he replied that he was so paralyzed by fear and stress that he was unable to put his vehicle in the proper gear. As a result, he said, Prince backed into his vehicle, dented the driver's side door. He gave a similar answer when asked why he then didn't get out of his vehicle after the collision, saying he was too panicked to unfasten his seatbelt before Prince repeated the maneuver and backed into his vehicle again. In conclusion, a Prince George's County Circuit Court civil jury declared that Prince's death at the hands of Prince George's County Police was wrongful and resulted from a criminal justice system that failed to hold police accountable for serious misconduct. Prince's daughter Nina was awarded $2.5 million in damages. Court records show that Officer Carlton was recently summoned to full-time duty in the U.S. Military Reserves and was no longer in the Washington area. Only months shy of obtaining his degree from Howard University at the time of his death, his mother, Dr. Mabel Jones, accepted his degree in May 2001. His family started the Prince Jones Jr. Foundation that was created in 2017 to honor Prince and to ensure his legacy is not overshadowed by how his life ended. That was the case of Prince Jones Jr. Down in the comments section, let me know whether or not you've heard of this case. What were your thoughts? Let's talk about it. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.